YouTube, once again, it's Kennard, Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football, doing a little drive cast, so to speak. Man, I wanted to talk to you guys tonight. I had some thoughts about Chad Morris. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and click the bell twice because we don't want you to miss any of the action here on Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger War Eagle. I appreciate all the congrats for the 100th episode of Auburn Football SportsTalk. That's something that we try to do every day. That's kind of like a general program of what is going on at Auburn. You know, being an Auburn alumnus and being from the area, man, I absolutely love Auburn football, and I talk about it every single day. War Eagle. So I thought about Chad Morris. A lot of folks are like, well, you know, there are a lot of terms that are being put out there now. You talk about the home run hire. You talk about all these little terms that don't necessarily mean anything until the rubber meets the road and the coach is able to work with the personnel that he has, the coaching staff that is around him. So I think to say that Chad Morris is or is not a home run hire is to say, well, in a lot of these cases, you got to let things play out. Because if you look at Chad Morris, I think this is a guy that has proven himself to be an effective offensive coordinator. For one, a lot of folks don't give him enough credit for his tenure at Clemson. Clemson had a very good record during that time. That was actually the middle tier of Dabo Swinney's come up at Clemson. It wasn't what we see now, but it was the beginning stages. He actually recruited Taj Boyd. He had Taj Boyd, and Taj Boyd as a quarterback, all 3 years during Chad Morris's tenure, 3,800 plus thousand yards passing. Why? Because Chad Morris, I feel, does a good job of putting his quarterbacks in a good position to be successful. Now, Gus Malzahn, for example, we talk about his ability to develop quarterbacks. We don't know if Gus Malzahn can develop quarterbacks because most of the quarterbacks during his Power 5 tenures have been junior college transfers. I'm talking about the whole time. When we look at, Chris Todd back from 2009, you talk about Cam Newton from 2010. Then you talk about Nick Marshall. He had some recruits that, with Jeremy Johnson and Sean White. But I feel like Bo Nix is the best quarterback that he's actually recruited. Now, I will go out on the biggest limb possible and say I think Gus Malzahn was actually pretty lucky with the recruitment of Bo Nix, because I feel like if Bo Nix, with his abilities and with his talent, if he was not a legacy of Auburn University via Patrick Nix, his father, one of the big names of Auburn history quarterback-wise, I don't think he comes to Auburn. Just being fair. Why would he? Not saying anything against Auburn, but you talk about a 5-star recruit. You talk about a guy that could be ultimately successful no matter where he goes. Why come to Auburn? This is a legacy thing. Gus Malzahn should not pat himself on the back too hard because this is a legacy recruit, bottom line. So, we talk about Chad Morris, though. Chad Morris, with his tenure as a coach, we're not going to talk too much about his high school days because that is what it is. He and Gus Malzahn has like a similar track record as it relates to high school coaching. But then you translate that over. He's an offensive coordinator at Clemson, has a great deal of success developing quarterbacks, puts Clemson in a great position, averaging almost well over 30 points per year, have a quarterback throwing for almost 4,000 yards per year, dual threat quarterback in Taj Boyd. Then you go over to SMU. This is where things started to get a little cloudy for Chad Morris and his legacy as a football coach. Now you have some success at Clemson. A college head coaching job comes up at SMU. you jump on that. That is cool. I mean, there's no need to not be ambitious. He's getting up in age. He wants to make this thing happen pretty quickly. SMU, a very difficult program to recruit, very difficult program to be like ultimately successful. But let's just look at his time at SMU. 2-10 his first year, 5-7 his second year, and 7-6 the last year he was there. Now, when I look at this, I look at a coach that's starting to have somewhat of a incline as far as success goes. But you jump ship, the Arkansas job all of a sudden comes open. Now, in my opinion, I think the Arkansas job coming open and him being the best guy for the job was probably the worst thing that could have happened for his career. Because he had some upward mobility with SMU, and now this dumpster fire going on in Arkansas that has been going on for the last, really since Arkansas has entered, the SEC. Now, Chad Morris feels like, okay, I'm ready to take on this. Now, what a lot of folks don't realize, Arkansas is in the SEC West. You have to recruit on a high level just to be halfway competitive in the SEC West. And what happens? He takes on some of the players from Brett Bielema, and then he brings on some of his own players. Then you have the, cross-contamination of players, attitudes, and what is expected. Next thing you know, you got ripped in the locker room, and now you have a tank of 2 seasons with Chad Morris at Arkansas. So, Chad Morris gets fired. Now he's a rich man because they got to pay him. Auburn gave him a hefty salary. Now he's at Auburn. I think this is a great case scenario for Chad Morris because he has the talent. He has access to the tools that he needs to be successful. Do I think Chad Morris is a home run hire? I don't know yet. But I do know it has the makings to be because he has the tools in place to be successful. He's got Bo Nix, I think a very formidable quarterback who has navigated his way through the toughest, treacherous parts of the SEC conference. He has that experience under his belt. Now he has a guy like Chad Morris who has had success, who has, had success and failures. That's one thing you got to look at. When you look at a great coach, you want somebody who has gone through the trials and tribulations of the coaching arena. And I think Chad Morris has done that. Do I think we're not putting enough stock in Chad Morris's abilities as a coach, as an offensive coordinator, perhaps in the SEC? I think we are. We're not putting enough stock on it because he was successful at Clemson. Even though we want to say, yeah, Clemson is on another level now. But when Chad Morris was at Clemson, Clemson did not have the type of athletes that they do now, and he was still successful there. I think Chad Morris is a great hire. I don't know about this whole home run thing, but I think he's a great hire, and I think he has a great opportunity to be very successful for the Auburn Tigers. All right, guys, go ahead and click the bell. This is my time here. My name is Kennard Vernon Stewart. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell twice so you are always notified. And as always, great to be an Auburn Tiger.